Welcome to Rise and Grind, the 2020 election edition. My name is Amy Mulvane. I'm a retirement account executive with Arista Consulting Group. And this morning I have with me Toby Anderson, our financial planner. Good morning, Toby.
Good morning.
We have a lot of exciting things to talk about this morning. I know when everyone hears the word election, different emotions and feelings come up within each of us. Along with that comes our economic stability, things that we're going to be expecting to see in the market and maybe some things that we're not expecting to see. So I thought it would be a great opportunity for us to use this morning, our Rise and Grind edition, to kind of talk to our clients about what's coming with the election and what can they be on the lookout for.
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing's for certain is there's no shortage of opinions. There's no shortage of emotions related to the election and who's going to win and what's going to happen. So what the goal today is to simply try to take the emotional side out of it the best we can. It's hard to completely take the emotional side out of such an emotional topic. But we just want to share some stuff that we expect to see in the market. And try to give you at least a sense of understanding on what perspective you should have, especially as it relates to thinking long term. So I'm going to share my screen here in just a second, and we're going to show some slides that were done by our partners at Capital Group, and we just really want to come talk about what it says there, how elections move the market in 5 different charts. And again, this is try to take the emotion out of it the best you can. The goal here is for you to make wise decisions, to be as confident as possible in continuing on to participate in your 403B or 401k or whatever other retirement vehicle or even personal investments that you have to help put you in the best position long term to hit your goals. So, so here we are. You can see this. We're in an election year. We're in probably a very unique election year. If you watched the first debate the other night, you got a sense of just what an interesting time this year. I'm not going to comment on what I thought, but the term dumpster fire comes to mind when I think about what I witnessed for that hour and a half the other day. But that's neither here nor there. But in general, I'm going to do this one quickly. This kind of shows what's going on typically in an election year with the market. In times that the market's doing well, the incumbent typically wins. When the market has not done well, it's not been good news for the incumbent. This year's a little different because the market's actually doing well. It's up about 6% year to date, but we're also coming out of a recession due to the pandemic and stuff, and that's never been good for an incumbent either. So these charts probably aren't going to give us as much of a predictor as they typically do, but you can see there either way, the market corrects itself, and long term tends to get better. When I flip to this one, this I hope is going to start giving you some confidence that whether your candidate wins or not, whether we've got a blue wave or whatever happens, the market finds a way to pivot course and does well. You can see here, if everything's a unified government, S&P's average about 10%. On the right, if it's a split Congress, a little bit better, 10.4%. But even when it's a unified Congress and it's a different, person in the White House, you're still at, 7.5%. So the market doesn't care. And I'm going to show you a little clearer here. Whether it's a Republican or a Democrat in the White House, whatever's going on in Congress, the market finds a way to move on. Corporations, pivot as they need to, regardless of what's happening with taxes, and they find a way to make money, that's what the stock market wants. Does not mean, especially this year, that there's not going to be a whole lot of volatility. The one thing the market hates is uncertainty. And of any time, this is probably the most uncertainty that we're headed toward, that we're sitting in. So, don't be surprised if there's ups and downs, big swings, that can happen on the whim of maybe not the smartest tweet in the world, or, some news comes out here and there. That's going to happen. But as you can see here, you know, you make money being invested long term, not making emotional decisions because of the latest news story to come out, or the latest predictions, you know, that some poll, you know, throws out at us.
Toby, that's a great point. You know, we've often said the only thing certain is the fact that the market hates uncertainty.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we're facing right now, not just because it's an election year, but because we are still very much in the middle of this pandemic.
Correct.
So it's very hard, as many charts as we want to look at daily and study or to put out in front of our clients, it's very hard to navigate through those when you put that on top of a pandemic.
Yeah.
So we know that this pandemic is going to even affect how this election is going to take place, and the percentage of voters that are going to vote in person versus mail-in, and then the delay that that's going to create in reporting who the actual winner is.
Yeah.
So can you speak to a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's a great point. So just a statistic I heard the other day, you know, in a normal election year, about 25% of the population votes by mail, right? Obviously, we're all hearing about mail fraud and all this, but put all that aside. You know, this year they're expecting that to be over 50%, you know, or closer even to 60% that are going to vote by mail. Now, historically, that percentage of votes is also skewed Republican and Democrat, not surprising. A much higher percentage of Democrats tend to vote by mail than does Republicans. So the uncertainty that potentially can cause this year is, in a year where we're going to have significantly more mail-ins, those won't be calculated on election day, right? Or election night even. So the results that we may be getting on election night are probably going to be skewed a little bit more red, a little bit more Republican, because those are the in-person votes that happen. And then over the course of the next week, as all the mail-ins get counted, those probably will tend to skew more Democrat. So, you know, where it looks like somebody's doing great on election day or election night, that could significantly change over the next week or so, which just means it's probably likely that we're not going to know the results on election night. It's probably going to take some time. Not to mention tying all the other stuff accusations that are going to come with that. And the market's not going to like that. I mean, no one's going to like that, but it's just the reality of where we're in, you know, partly because of the pandemic, partly because of, you know, other stuff going on. But, you know, we want people to not make poor emotional decisions because of that uncertainty, right? This chart I'm showing here shows that as much as we know all this information, people still tend to make emotional decisions. You know, in election years, look at the amount of money that typically pours into money market. You know, think of it as cash. You know, people get scared, they dump all their money into cash, but then the year after, they get a little bit more confident, and now it's time to go back into the market. But the numbers clearly show that's not the smart decision to make, right? You do better staying invested, not making those decisions. You know, especially in your 401k. You know, or your 403b, your retirement plans, that bar in the middle there is exactly what that is. Just that consistent contributions month after month, paycheck after paycheck, typically puts you in one of the best outcomes possible. You know, those little circles off to the right show best and worst outcomes. Look at the circle in the middle there on the right. Being a consistent contributor in your retirement plan has never been the worst outcome for a participant. It's always the best, one of the best ways to just stay the course, not make crazy decisions, don't adjust a bunch of stuff, you know, because, you know, you heard this or you saw that. So, you know, we just want to encourage y'all to, you know, pay attention, but don't make any poor decisions just because your candidate didn't win, or you think that because so-and-so did win that it's going to change, you know, this or that. Stay the course, be confident in, you know, in your plan. Ask questions, you know, seek advice, you know, definitely don't try to do it on your own. If you've got questions, that's what we're here for. You know, we talk to participants every single day. You and I both do, Amy, and just try to encourage them, make sure they're positioned well, make sure they understand, you know, what outcomes, you know, we're striving to achieve, and make sure they're on the right path to get that. So, you know, the bottom line is it's going to be a crazy next, you know, next couple of months. There's going to be different news stories every single day that are going to cause uncertainty. But we just want to encourage people to know that the market is separate from the economy. It tends to find a way to pivot as it needs to. And, historically over the past, 85 years, it's done exactly that regardless of who's in the White House.
Yeah, there's no doubt that we're in for a wild ride over the next, I think they said the election is less than 35 days away, but we know that ride's not going to end on election night, as we've spoken about. That it's actually going to be several months. So what would be the one piece of final advice for our clients that are watching this video when they walk away from their computer screen? What do we want them to walk away with, the most important piece of information from today?
Well, if I was going to give one piece of advice to people, I would probably encourage, and this would go for myself as well, because I don't always necessarily do this good, but try to turn off the noise, right? There's just so much information. Most of it's negative, right? And that's just not healthy, right? Whether it's, on the pandemic and stats and figures, the market, this and that, turn off the noise, be confident in what you're doing as it relates to your retirement plan. Ask questions, and don't let all the noise out there distract you from reaching your goals, staying consistent. Get outside, spend time with friends and family, turn off the noise, and just be confident moving forward that it's gonna correct itself.
Absolutely. Consistency is key. Investing consistently over a long period of time. A reminder that your retirement account is for the long haul. So it's going to be able to ebb and flow with some of these markets, ups and downs, and you're going to fare well in the long run if you stay consistent. So
absolutely.
Here's to surviving the next couple of weeks and months together as we embrace for the election of 2020. It's been our pleasure to be with you today through Rise and Grind.
Thank you.